If you're going to sew your lining piece in two pieces like I am, then you'll need to piece those pieces together first before you sew the front and back together. So you're going to lay one piece of your lining right side facing up, and the piece that's going to show right sides facing down. Okay, because once we sew across, that's the part that's going to show, and we want a nice clean seam on the right side. Okay, so the right sides are facing together. You're going to align that top raw edge and sew across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you're going to repeat that for the other piece as well. Alright, I'm at my sewing machine and I have my lining pieces in front of me, and I'm going to press these with the seam allowance facing up on one and down on the other. So this seam allowance is going to point towards the green. I'm also going to give it just a nice pressing to get rid of some of these creases. And then for the other one, I'm going to have the seam allowance pointing down towards the white piece. Now we're going to sew the lining. What you'll do is lay your lining pieces right sides together, and you'll notice that because you pressed your seam allowances in opposite directions, they will meet nice and neatly together. They almost lock together in place, and that will help you line up the seams when you sew. And you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. You're not going to sew across the top, and you're going to leave down here at the bottom about 4 to 5 inches. Just like we did on the last video where I made you rip it out. Instead, you're going to sew and you're going to lock your stitch here, move all the way over, give yourself plenty of room, about 4 to 5 inches, start again, lock it so that way you don't rip it later when you're turning things right side out, and finish your 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way up to the top. Okay? Make sure again that these are right sides together, wrong sides facing out. And here is my lining sewn right sides together, and here is the hole that I did not sew, and I can't pull apart, but there we go. There's the hole. Okay, I locked it in both places just by back stitching, and I'm going to leave this wrong sides facing out, and I'm just going to press it because the stitching on this taffeta gets tight so easily. So sewing, pressing I should say, along the seams helps kind of stretch the stitching out a little bit, gets everything to lay a little bit flatter.